Excuse me, traveler. Would you mind if I sat with you? It is a frigid and lonely night. I would appreciate the company. Although if you would prefer to be left to your thoughts, I would understand. Ah, wonderful. Thank you. Pardon me for the intrusion, friend, but I could not help but notice the text you carry. It is a Daedric tome, is it not? No worries, and no offense. I know many will cast a side glance at the study, but I am not one of them. I spent many years, in fact, studying the Daedra, and I'm quite well attuned in distinguishing scholars from deviants. It is not easy to find other intellects who share such a thirst for knowledge on the taboo subject. I was fortunate enough to have studied under the most brilliant mind, especially in our discipline. My name is Sif Hita. You can simply call me Inja, if you'd like. Lucky was I to be able to study under the greatest mage who ever lived. My master was Morian Senis. You have heard of him as the author of the book on Oblivion, the standard text for all matters Daedric. Despite many entreaties over the years, he refused to update his classic book with his new discoveries and theories because he found that the more one delves into these realms, the less certain one is. He did not want conjecture. He wanted facts. For decades before and after the publication of On Oblivion, Zenas compiled a vast personal library on the subject of Oblivion. He divided his time between this research and personal magic growth, on the assumption that should he succeed in finding a way into the dangerous world beyond and behind ours, he would need much power to wander its dark paths. 12 years before Zenas began the journey he had prepared his life to make. He hired me as an assistant. I possessed the 3 attributes he required for the position. I was young and eager to help without question. I could read any book once and memorize its contents. And, despite my youth, I was already a master of conjuration. Zenas, too, was a master of conjuration. Indeed, a master at all the known and unknown schools. But he did not want to rely on his ability alone in the most perilous of his research. It was in an underground vault he summoned Daedra to interview them on their native land, and for that he needed another conjurer to make certain they came, were bound, and were sent away again without incident. I will never forget that vault, not for its look, which was plain and unadorned, but for what you couldn't see. There were scents that lingered long after the summoned creatures had left. Flowers and sulfur, sex and decay, power and a madness. They haunt me still to this very day. Conjuration, for the layman unacquainted with its workings, connects the caster's mind with that of the summoned. It is a tenuous link, meant only to lure, hold, and dismiss, but in the hands of a master it can be much stronger. The Dwenmere could connect with the minds of others and converse while miles apart, a skill that is sometimes called telepathy. Over the course of my employment, Zenas and I developed such a link between one another. It was accidental, the result of two powerful conjurers working closely together, but we decided that it would be invaluable should he succeed in traveling to Oblivion, since the denizens of that land could be touched even by the skills of an amateur conjurer. It was possible that we could continue to communicate while he was there, so I could record his discoveries. The doors to Oblivion, to use Maurian Zenas' phrase, are not easily found, and we exhausted many possibilities before we found one where we held the key. The Syndics of Artium have a place they call the Dreaming Cave, where it is said that one can enter into the Daedric realms and return. Many have been recorded as using this means, but despite many entreaties into the order, we were denied its use. Solaris, the leader of the order, has told us it has been sealed off for the safety of all involved. We had hopes of using the ruins of the battle spire to access Oblivion. The Were Gate still stands, though the old proving grounds of the Imperial Battle Mages itself was shattered some years ago in Yargan Tharn's time. Sadly, after an exhaustive search through the Daedric, we had to conclude that when it was destroyed, all access to the realms beyond, the Soul Cairn, Shade Perilous, and the Havoc Wellhead had been broken. It was probably for the good, but it frustrated our goal. You may have heard of other doors, and be assured we attempted to find them all. Some are pure legend, or at any rate not traceable based on information left behind. There are references in lore to Mark's Abyss, the Corrington Mirror, the Mantellan Crux, the Crossroads, the Mouth, a riddle of an alchemical formula, Conjanket and Rising Sun, and many other places and objects that are said to be doors, but we could not find. Some exist, but cannot be entered safely. The whirlpool in Oblivion, called the Maelstrom of Baal, can make ships disappear. It may be a portal into Oblivion, but the trauma of riding its waters would surely slay anyone who tried. Likewise, we did not consider it worth the risk to leap from the Pillar of Thras, a 1,000-foot tall spiral of coral, though we witnessed the sacrifices the sloths made there. Some victims were killed by the fall, but some indeed seemed to vanish before being dashed onto the rocks. Since the sloth did not seem certain why some were taken and some died, we did not favor the odds of the plunge. The simplest and most maddeningly complex way to go to Oblivion was simply to cease to be here and begin to be there. Throughout history, there were examples of mages who seemed to travel to realms beyond ours seemingly at will. Many of these voyagers are long dead, if they ever existed. But we were able to find one still living in the tower of Sulphur-Bell Bay on the island of Ardenfell in the province of Morrowind. There exists a very old, very reclusive wizard named Diviath Fire. He was not easy to reach, and he was reluctant to share with Morian the secret door to Oblivion. Fortunately, my master's knowledge of lore impressed Fire, and he taught him the way. I would be breaking my promise to Zenith and Fire to explain the procedure, and I would not divulge it, even if I could. If there is dangerous knowledge to be had, that is it. But I do not reveal too much to say that Fire's scheme relied on exploiting a series of portals to various realms, created by a Telvanni wizard, long missing and presumed dead. Against the disadvantage of this limited number of access points, we weighed the relative reliability and security of passage, and considered ourselves fortunate in our informant. Morian then left this world to begin his exploration. I stayed at the library to transcribe this information and help him with any research he needed. Dust, he whispered to me on the first day of his voyage. Despite the inherent dreariness of the world, I could hear the excitement in his voice echoing in my mind. I can see from one end of the world to the other in a million shades of grey. There is no sky or ground or air, only particles, floating, falling, whirling about me. I must levitate and breathe by magical means. Zenith explored the nebulous land for some time, encountering vaporous creatures and palaces of smoke. Though he never met the prince, we concluded that he was in Ash Pit, said to be the home of Malekith, where anguish, betrayal, and broken promises like ash filled the bitter air. The sky is on fire, I heard him say as he moved on to the next realm. The ground is sludge, but traversable. I see blackened ruins all around me, like a war was fought here in the distant past. The air is freezing. I cast plumes of warmth all around me, but it still feels like daggers of ice stabbing me in all directions. This was Cold Harbor, where Moloch Bal was prince. It appeared to Zenith as if it were a future Nirn, under the king of rape, desolate and barren, filled with suffering. I could hear Morian weep at the images he saw and shiver at the sight of the imperial palace splattered with blood and excrement. Too much beauty, Zenith gasped when he went to the next realm. I am half blind. I see flowers and waterfalls, majestic trees, a city of silver, but it is all a blur. The colors run like water. It's raining now. The wind smells like perfume. This surely is Moonshadow, where Azura dwells. Zenith was right, and astonishingly, he even had audience with the Queen of Dusk and Dawn in her Rose Palace. She listened to his tale with a smile, and told him of the coming Neveverin. My master found Moonshadow so lovely, he wished to stay there, half blind, forever. But he knew he must move on and complete his journey of discovery. I am in a storm, he told me as he entered the next realm. He described the landscape of dark, twisted trees, howling spirits, and billowing mist. And I thought he might have entered the dead lands of Maroon's Dagon, but then he said quickly, "No, I am no longer in a forest." There was a flash of lightning, and now I am on a ship. The mast is tattered, the crew is slaughtered. Something is coming in the waves. Oh gods. Wait, now. I am in a dank dungeon in a cell. He was not in the Dead Lands, but Quagmire, the nightmare realm of Vernima. Every few minutes, there was a flash of lightning, and reality shifted, always to something more horrible and horrifying. A dark castle one moment, a den of raving beasts the next, a moonlit swamp, a coffin where he was buried alive. Fear got the best of my master, and he quickly passed to the next realm. I heard him laugh. I feel like I'm home now. Morian described to me an endless library, shelves stretching on in every direction, stacks on top of stacks, pages floated on a mystical wind that he could not feel. Every book had a black cover with no title. He could see no one, but felt the presence of ghosts moving through the stacks, rifling through the books, ever searching. It was Apocrypha, the home of Hermes Mora, where all forbidden knowledge can be found. I felt a shudder in my mind, but I could not tell if it was my master's or mine. Morian never traveled to another realm that I know of. Throughout his visits to the first 4 realms, my master spoke to me constantly. Upon entering the Apocrypha, he became quieter, as he was lured into the world of research and study. The passions that controlled his heart while on earth, I would frantically try to call to him, but he closed his mind to me. Then he would whisper, "This cannot be. No one would ever guess the truth. I must learn more. I see the world, a last illusion shimmer. It is crumbling all around us." I would cry back to him, begging him to tell me what was happening, what he was seeing, what he was learning. I even tried using conjuration to summon him as if he were a Daedra himself. But he refused to leave. Morian was lost. I last received a whisper from him 6 months ago. Before then it had been 5 years, and 3 before that. His thoughts are no longer intelligible in any language. Perhaps he is still an Apocrypha, lost, but happy, in a trap he refuses to escape. Perhaps he slipped between the stacks and passed into the madhouse of Sheogorath, losing his sanity forever. I would save him if I could. I would silence his whispers if I could.